the beginning of it all. When you started planning Flying Circus, did you plan it as a revolution that it was, or just you just wanted to do a good comedy, good solid comedy that you believed in? Were you planning a revolution?
No, I mean, and it's terribly surprising. I mean, I'm very surprised to realise that we're in a room in Lisbon, in Portugal, 40 years later, and we're talking about this show that we did. I mean, it seems extraordinary. I think what we thought was that Mike Payer and I had been writing sketches, finding it quite hard, and we thought that John Cleese and Graham Chapman were writing the funniest other stuff, and we thought, well, if we all get together, we'll write the funniest show at the top at the moment. But we never thought it would, the idea that it would be still talking about it 40 years later, it never occurred to us at all.
It's not only the shows, it's the movies, and then it's the documentaries, everything, the books. So it's not just a group of sketches on the 70s, it's also all the great movies. I mean, Life of Brian. Great movie, and it's something that nobody ever did it with Python.
Well, I must say, when we were doing the film, actually when we were writing it, I did think to myself, we looked at a lot of other Hollywood movies about the life of biblical times, biblical movies, The Road and The Greatest Story Ever Told, and all these big Hollywood epics. And I noticed that we watched these films, we watched the first reel, and then we watched the next reel or something else. And I noticed that they all had one thing in common, and that was that everybody spoke in the very same way. We are so honored to be living in the time of Christ. And I thought, yeah, people talking like that. People are going to be so offended.
Most of the Portuguese movies, they still talk like I'm reading here. I read it in Portuguese, but then I try to give you an idea. On this book that you all should buy because it's an autobiography, but in the end, when Terry Jones is speaking about what Monty Python achieved, he's saying that the best thing they achieved was when I was talking with a friend that was a teacher in a school in a little city in the interior of England. He said that Monty Python caused a change in boys in that village. Before Monty Python, they were all fighting with each other, and after Monty Python, for a short period, they were doing silly things. And so he thinks, well, what Monty Python achieved in a small town of England, in the village of England, in the interior of England, there was a short time when a small group of people, instead of fighting, did silly things. That's what Monty Python achieved. I would say that this village is very, very, very big now.
Very good. But I just wish, people do silly things. I mean, George Bush does really silly things. But unfortunately, they do silly things which have unfortunate outcomes, like killing a million Iraqis. And I wish people did silly things that were harmless. And I hope most of it. I hope Monty Python can claim to have been mostly harmless, as Douglas Adams put it in his book.
I am very curious about this. You play amazing middle-aged housewives. I don't know if you still do that. I have to.
I have to tell you, when I was, not Mandy, the Virgin, we called that character the Virgin Mandy. But when I was playing the middle-aged women on television, I have to tell you, I look exactly like my mother. Uncanny.
Did she like seeing you in that in those clothes?
Well, I don't know.
Strange experience.
Yeah, it was a strange.
That's my boy. And you also
me. No, she said that's me.
you also appeared naked in some sketches. Is this experience liberating? You are very relaxed playing the organ.
Well, actually, it was Kerry Gilliam who originally did the new pianist, the nude organist, actually. And it was only then when we decided to film it as well that he couldn't do it because he was doing his animations. And so I had to do it. I always got the parts that nobody else wanted to play. But when the one moment when I was doing the hermit in the hole in the Life of Brian, a hermit who lives down a hole, and he hasn't spoken for 15 years or something, and my costume for that was a beard. And I remember very early in the morning having the makeup lady having to sort of stick the beard under my penis. And like it was 5 o'clock in the morning. And then a bit later in the day, we had this crowd of Tunisians, and I was directing them. I was saying, look, everybody has to go over there, and then you do this and that. And Michael Palin came up to me and said, Terry, you do realise you're stark naked. I just totally forgotten. It was my costume.
You were saying that you did the things nobody else wanted to do. Is like directing, or?
Yeah, no, actually directing was exactly that. I mean, nobody else was interested to begin with, especially during the TV shows. And so I sort of took it on myself to actually. I always went with the director to look at the locations, to check how he was going to film things, and then the editing. I was always there for the editing. Our director, Ian McNaughton, he's Scottish, and he says, "Well, we got 2 hours. We got 2 hours to edit this show, you know." And I say, "Well, anyway." So we start editing. In fact, we'd spend the whole day editing the show, and eventually I'd get everybody else to come in and have a look at it. But it was hard work to begin with, but eventually Ian sort of got much better and we worked together okay. But
was it hard to direct all those strong personalities and egos?
Well, not really, no, because the directing was really just making sure you didn't do the wrong thing, really. It was like, so we could, we'd written stuff, we were performing it, so we kind of knew what we were doing. I mean, occasionally you'd say, I think take that down a little bit, just do it a little bit straighter, don't be so funny. That's my usual direction, really, is don't be so funny, But generally it was, we knew what we were doing, really, so it was just making sure the camera's in the right place and things looked right.
We are talking about Monty Python, but it's been lots of things you've been doing since then, documentaries and books about the children's books. It's a thing that came because